This video is the first in a series focused on developing plugins for Microdrop. The goal of this video will be to create a minimal plugin similar to the one published at Sci-Bots microdrop.minimal-plugin on GitHub. And this plugin, you can see, has the basic structure that includes version year for specifying the version of a plugin using git tags, README file, which you can see the contents here, that includes installation instructions and instructions on how to develop the plugin and while you're using an installed version of Microdrop. It also includes a license file, and finally the recipe file for Conda to build the plugin into a package that can be installed using the Conda package manager. And the implementation is all in this init file, where this plugin currently only has very limited functionality, where it will log a message whenever a step is executed in Microdrop. But the idea is that you can use this minimal example to add additional functionality as required. And in this video, we're going to walk through the steps to create a plugin like this. The first thing I would recommend is to create a directory to house all of your plugins that are in development. So for example, if you press Windows key R and open a command prompt using cmd enter, then you can run make directory USERPROFILE microdrop-dev-plugins. In this case, I've already made that directory, but otherwise it would have been created. Then the next step is to notify Microdrop to add this directory to its search path for plugins when it loads. And to do this, I'd recommend tapping the Windows key and start typing environment, and then you'll see an entry for edit environment variables for your account. Now, I already have an environment variable here called microdrop-plugins path, but I will delete it so that we can walk through the process of creating it. To register the development plugins path with Microdrop, create a new environment variable with the name microdrop-plugins path and set the value of that variable to the new directory that you created to hold your development plugins. Next, click OK. Setting this environment variable will cause Microdrop to search in the specified directory for additional plugins to import. Okay, the next step is to start a command prompt in a Python environment on your system. So I'd recommend using a conda environment, but if you have a different Python environment, that works as well. So in this case, I'm going to use a PowerShell environment, but all of the steps should be very similar if you're not using a PowerShell environment. So here I would recommend creating a new environment if you're using conda. So you can use the conda create command. -n means the name of the environment. So in this case, I'll call it MD for Microdrop plugin dev. And then we have to specify explicitly that we're going to include the Conda Forge channel to install the package called cookiecutter. And what cookiecutter is a Python package for performing code generation using Jinja templates. So as you can see, it's going to download some dependencies and create that environment for us. And we're going to use that cookiecutter package to customize a microdrop plugin template for CookieCutter, where the contents of this template are very similar to the minimal plugin example we were looking at, with the exception being that some locations in this template have corresponding Ginger variables that will be expanded when the template is rendered. And so the idea is that this can be used as a base plugin template to develop your own custom plugins. Okay, so the environment has been created, so let's activate it. And now change into your directory that you created, so microdrop-dev-plugins. Okay, now we've installed CookieCutter, so if we look at this, I'll use help to show some of the options that we can specify here. But the main thing is we specify a template to render, and then it will prompt us for some values to fill in. So let's try this out. CookieCutter, and if the template is available on GitHub, which in this case it is, we can copy the path and then use GH along with the organization or user, in this case Sci-Bots, and the name of the repository, and then enter. It says that I've already downloaded it, but if you haven't, then it will just download it. And then it will start prompting you for values. So in this case, it's asking for your full name, your email address, your GitHub username, GitHub organization if you have one. If you don't, you can enter in nothing. In this case, I've previously entered in Sci-Bots, and I'll just enter it in explicitly again. Then you enter in the name of your project. So in this case, it can be anything. So in this example, we can say minimal plugin example for microdrop. And then we want to give it a package name. The convention that we've been using for microdrop packages is, or microdrop plugins, is microdrop dot, and then the name of the plugin after that. So dot, and then we can say minimal example plugin. The plugin name is the next thing, which is automatically derived from the package name, or you can specify it explicitly. But this plugin name must be a valid Python module name, because this is what will be imported. And so minimal underscore example underscore plugin is a valid Python module name, so we'll just accept the default. And then we can enter in a short description, which will be filled in the README file that's generated. So for example, we can say this is an example plugin for microdrop that was generated using a CookieCutter template. The project URL is automatically filled in based on your organization for GitHub, or if you haven't specified an organization, using your GitHub username, as well as the package name. So that's the default. You can always override it. The license by default is BSD. MIT is also can also be specified here. And if you specify either BSD or MIT all caps, then the corresponding license file will be generated, and anywhere where the license is listed in the repository will be updated accordingly. The release date and the version number. Okay, so now if we do a directory listing, we see that that directory has been created, and we can look at the contents of the init file. So here you can see these are the initial contents, which match the minimal plugin contents, with the only difference being the name of the plugin. So in this case, it's minimal plugin. In this case, it's minimal example plugin. Next, we will start Microdrop. So this is a version of Microdrop that was installed from the Sci-Bots website. This is a release version of Microdrop. But we should observe that the minimal example plugin is available in the plugin manager. Just ignore these messages. Okay, under the plugin manager we can see minimal example plugin is now available. So we can enable it. The next thing we want to do is to set the log level to debug so that we can monitor the messages from this plugin. Now, if we play a protocol, we should see messages from this plugin. Okay, don't need to start a new experiment. But now we can look, here we go. So here's an example from when one of the steps was run, our message was logged as expected. Now, quit Microdrop. Okay, so in this example, we've demonstrated how we can create a new plugin, how we can update the Microdrop environment variable, Microdrop_plugins_path for Microdrop to discover our development plugins, and how to use the cookie cutter template to help us create new plugins.